Okay, now, listen up. I'm taking time out of the day at that is an important meeting, so here goes. What does an angel, a vampire, a pixie, and a ferret have in common? Eating popcorn and watching Disney movies. Duh! Today we hear all about a slumber party with Francesca Ethereal, Dmitri Alexandros, Periwinkle Serotonin, and Snow Wilder. Yeah, the kind of thing hellhounds do all the time.
Francesca. The slumber party had been postponed several times, which did disappoint me, but I wanted everyone to be here, so I showed a little patience. Since I had never seen the movie Beauty and the Beast, that was what we were watching tonight. I knew from what Dmitri said that it was Periwinkle's favorite. Dmitri spent the afternoon in the kitchen preparing the snacks, while Snow and I cleaned the theater room. The large black sofas were filled with vibrant pillows. There were large pillows tossed all over the floor. A table was set up with all the food Dmitri had prepared. Drinks were cooling in the refrigerator behind the bar. I wanted everything to be perfect. Periwinkle arrived right on time, full of smiles and hugs for everyone. All I could do was just watch and grin. This was my family. Snow was already in ferret form, waiting in the center of the sofa for me. I could see him peeking over the top of the cushions, giving me his order for the popcorn. Dmitri had made over 8 different flavors, and my arms were full by the time I reached the sofa with my tray. Snow wrapped around my shoulders while Dmitri and Periwinkle settled on the sofa. Dmitri started the movie, and I could see that Periwinkle was beaming. Settling in as the movie started, feeding popcorn to Snow and then myself, I watched the movie begin to unfold. It was exciting getting to see a new movie, to share it with everyone. I knew, after the movie, we were going to sleep outside. The lavender fields were special to Dmitri and his father. In that field was a tree, and Periwinkle said she would shrink me down to pixie size. I knew that was going to be amazing. Dmitri already said he would be staying in his room for the night. Such a spoil sport, but I was beginning to understand that Dmitri felt safe in his room. It was his spot, so I didn't pout about his decision. Periwinkle. Settling on the sofa next to Dmitri, I smiled as I thought of how my Sebastian had insisted I go and have a good time with my chosen family. To see my sweetness, Francesca, brought a silly, happy smile to my lips. Snow was becoming a really good and trusted friend, and I squealed upon seeing Dmitri, having missed my dear friend dearly. So, as I settled in with my sweet popcorn, I curled up at Dmitri's side. The room darkened, and I almost threw my bag of popcorn through the room in joy to see the first scenes of my favorite Disney movie. Squealing out, I moved to soundly place a smooch on Dmitri's cheek. Then, flopping back on the seat, my eyes were glowing in excitement, and I hummed with Belle as she walked through her village. I held my breath as her father met the beast, but as Lumiere sung for her dinner, there was no keeping my bottom on the seat. Jumping up, my voice overshadowed Lumiere's, and I danced through the room to everyone's entertainment. Breathlessly, I fell back on the seat after I had begged to replay the dinner scene 5 times, and not 1 second had I stopped singing or dancing. My face was glowing with joy and excitement as we followed the rest of the movie. Looking up, I saw Dmitri relaxed and enjoying being able to spend time with us. I smiled brighter, recognizing it, and cuddled into the couch. Snow was moving from Francesca's lap to her neck and back again, the two caught up in a playful popcorn fight until their tray was empty. I pouted when the beast was turned back to a human. Dmitri looked at me, and when he asked why I pouted, I chuckled out, "I'd like him better as a beast. As a human, he loses some of his, attraction. I prefer beast over human." Snow's voice came from the front. "Me too. Fur wins over skin any time." I laughed and tapped his nose softly. Why did I know you would say so? I winked at Francesca. So, how about you look for what you want to wear tonight? I assume Snow keeps his furry onesie on. I saw her gaze and laughed. No, it's not sleeping time yet. It's pajama dance time. Dmitri. How many times had I watched Beauty and the Beast with my Pixie? I was not certain, though each time it was like her first. She thoroughly enjoyed the movie, and there was nothing more than laughter and giggles filling the air when Periwinkle danced through the room during the dinner scene. Francesca was having the best time. You could see her cheeks all rosy from the laughter. Once Periwinkle said pajama dance, Francesca raced from the room. My Pixie cranked up the music when she came back in her pajamas, and they were dancing. Laughing as I shook my head, I watched the bubbles now filling the air around them. Francesca yelled that she was cutting a rug. The phrase was far older than she, so I knew she had been doing research. I watched quietly, taking in the scene before me. It had been a relaxing night, filled with laughter and family. I raised my hands in protest when Pixie pulls me to join them. That was followed by the small pout on Francesca's face. Throwing my hands up in surrender, because who could deny either of them, I got up. Besides, what happened in Provence stays in Provence. They would not be telling the world of my awful dance skills. Hugging my Pixie tightly, whispering my thanks in her ear, I then place a soft kiss on Francesca's forehead and watch as they trail out of the house into the lavender fields. Francesca, hoping that Periwinkle would tell her some stories of the Pixie forest and of her family. I took myself upstairs and stood on the balcony, where I could hear the soft chatter of their voices as I lit up a cigarette. Snow. The evening practically flew with lightning speed, and day turned to dusk and then to a star-sprinkled night sky. To see my little lady having so much fun made my heart light. Her eyes were shining like the stars above us, and there wasn't a sight more dear to me. I grinned with Perry's loud squeal as Dmitri gave in and followed her to dance the PJ jig. Family. I looked at the people that had found one another on fate's weirdest ways, and despite everything, they'd become family. I chuckled and ran up my little lady to wrap around her neck as she danced between and around Dmitri and Perry. A perfect moment in time, a memory that would always make us smile. And it was just like the next moment we were walking through the lavender fields. Their addictive scent was like a caress to our senses. Once again, a thought crossed my mind. How could humans bear their reduced senses? They didn't know of the sweet depth all around them, didn't feel how in every flower, in every scent, in every soft breeze, a kiss of eternity flew over their skin. Poor creatures. Perry stopped the small conga line of ours and giggled as she turned around and tapped my little lady's nose. Ready to shrink, my sweetness? Francesca's head bobbed up and down as fast as I ever saw it done by the Pixie. Our laughter filled the air, and, upon Perry's request, Francesca spread her wings. I jumped off of my lady's shoulder and eyed the Pixie closely. Friend or not, if she hurt my little lady, she would be history. Perry just laughed and tapped my nose. Thankfully, she understood me, and if I'd been in my human form, I would display flushed cheeks, I'm sure. Perry knelt in front of Francesca and held her hands in her own. A small shift in the air around us indicated she was using her magic, as if the view in front of me was not enough to know this. Slowly, both were shrinking, going tinier and tinier until they could easily ride my back together. Their laughter now more like the soft chiming of distant bells as they flew up and around the tree. I ran up the tree, my claws grabbing at the bark, following their soft laughter until I came to a fork with enough space for all of us. Perry winked at my little lady, and suddenly soft, thick moss grew around us. Leaves fell and wove with some vines together until they became the perfect blankets. This little pix had quite the tricks up her sleeve. She settled down, and my little lady nuzzled against her as I wiggled behind them like a furry wall surrounding them. Perry looked up and smiled. I slept like this many nights when I was a kid. My aunt always loved to hide away with me. Even though she was the queen of our tribe and forest, born to it, she was like me, not liking it. So, any time we could, we ran off. It was always believed when my aunt vanished from court that she was locked up in a room due to royal duties. But in reality, we were out having fun. I loved it more than I can say. Perry's voice blended in with the sounds around us, and the stories of her childhood were accompanied with a background song chirped by crickets below in the lavender fields. Francesca. The slumber party was a huge success. Everyone had a great time. We watched a movie, danced, and ate until our tummies were full. Now we were settled in the tree in the lavender field. The soft scent of the lavender tickled my nose. A gentle breeze lifted the leaves, and we were snuggled against Snow, who had shown his protective side when Periwinkle was ready to shrink me. Even though I knew she would never harm me, it made me smile to know that he was my fiercest protector. The soft blanket of nature covered us as Periwinkle regaled us with stories. She spoke some of her family, those from her past, what her life was like in the pixie forest, the cherished memories she had of her family members in childhood. She did not speak of current times. I knew soon she would be fighting a battle. There was so much for her to face, but I was confident she could handle whatever happened. Twinkling stars could be seen overhead as I closed my eyes and snuggled next to Periwinkle and Snow. I knew I would dream of flying like a pixie, fast and free in the forest. One day, when everything had passed, I would fly with Periwinkle. For now, I was just happy that she could take time away to be with us, her extended family, who loved her. Yes, today has been a success, the type of day that I was hoping could be repeated very, very soon.